Heracles was dead, yet he could not die. This sentence had been echoing in his mind for months. He couldn't live among humans, and he couldn't stand among the gods either. When people saw him, they quietly stepped back. Even the shadow of his strength frightened them. The gods, watching from above, whispered with unease, "If this half-blood grows stronger, what then?" No matter where Heracles turned, he faced the same truth. He belonged nowhere. No smile welcomed him. No voice called his name. His muscles were enormous, but his spirit was collapsing. He wandered like a dead man. A dead man even death refused to claim. At night, he didn't fight monsters. He fought his own darkness. It always came back to a single question: who am I? And there was never an answer. Just as that emptiness threatened to consume him, a message arrived at his door. A task, a deadly one everyone feared: the Nemean Lion. Humans said, "It's impossible, you'll die." The gods said, "Maybe this will finally end." But something inside Heracles stirred. For the first time in months, a spark, small but sharp, lit up. Maybe this task will remind me who I am. Maybe he would die, maybe he would survive, or maybe, in that endless silence, he would finally find a reason to rise. Heracles straightened, clenched his jaw, and took his first determined step. In that moment, he understood. This wasn't a punishment. It was the first rope he had found to pull himself back into life. And so, like a dead man refusing the grave, Heracles began walking toward Nemea. When he held the mission scroll in his hands, a long extinguished fire flickered in his eyes. Nemean Lion, a beast no one could approach, a creature that emptied villages, a name people only dared to whisper. Everyone saw this task as a death sentence. But for Heracles, it was the opposite. For the first time in months, his heart found a rhythm. A sharp thought echoed within him. I can do this. This wasn't a curse. It was an opportunity. A chance to prove himself to humans, to the gods, and most of all, to the broken voice inside him. Perhaps the curse he carried finally had a purpose. This strength couldn't have been given by accident. This life couldn't have begun for nothing. Heracles tightened his fists and whispered, "This chance doesn't come twice. This is my path." He was no longer a man drowning in despair. He was a warrior, focused, breathing deeply, eyes hardened. For the first time, he drew power not from the weight of the world, but from the promise ahead. When Heracles set out for Nemea, he was no longer dragging his steps. Each stride felt like shedding another layer of the burden he had carried for years. The road was long, yes, but the fire inside him was faster. Trees slid past like shadows, and the wind whipping against his face only sharpened his resolve. For the first time in years, he had a goal: to prove himself. To humans, to gods, and to the dark whisper inside his own mind. Along the way, he heard villagers murmuring in fear. No one can defeat that beast. Anyone who goes near it never returns. I hope Heracles survives. But their fear didn't slow him. It fueled him. Every trembling word fanned the flames in his chest. This creature wasn't an obstacle. It was his ticket back to life. As he approached the mountains, the wind shifted, the air grew heavier, the forest fell silent. But there was no silence inside him anymore. For the first time, his heart raced, not from fear of death, but from the urge to live. The road to Nemea was harsh, but Heracles knew one truth. This is not a march toward death. This is the beginning of my rise. When he reached the narrow mountain pass, the forest's atmosphere changed at once. The trees stood unnaturally still. Even the wind seemed unsure of its direction, as if nature itself sensed a disaster approaching. Deep claw marks carved into the ground, soil ripped apart in long streaks, stones smashed clean in half. Even a tree trunk had been torn with such force that Heracles paused for a heartbeat. This beast wasn't merely wild, it was powerful enough to disturb the balance of nature. Every step pulled him deeper into darkness. Scattered bones dragged trails in the dirt, blood mixed with soil. Everywhere the lion had passed was swallowed by silence. Now he understood the villagers' terror, but he didn't flinch. Instead, a sharp focus lit his eyes. These weren't warnings. They were invitations. Every violent mark only strengthened his resolve. "I'm in the right place," he thought. "This creature is my first trial." Then he heard it. A short, low hiss from deep within the forest. Heracles turned toward the sound and knew there was no turning back. A branch snapped in the shadows. Before he could breathe, a massive shape lunged forward. The Nemean Lion. Their eyes met and time froze. The lion didn't roar. It launched itself like an arrow. Heracles dove to the side as its colossal body plowed through trees behind him. The ground shook. Heracles sprinted without looking back. The lion wasn't behind him. It was beside him. Silent, shadow-like, fast as death. He ducked under a tree just as the lion's claws ripped half the trunk clean off. A second slower, and that claw would have torn through his shoulder. This wasn't a fight. It was a hunt. When Heracles realized that, something strange rose inside him. Not fear, but excitement. He glanced back. The lion wasn't slowing. "Good," he muttered. "It wants a true fight." Then with a single leap, the lion landed in front of him. The ground trembled under its weight. Heracles stopped, raised his fists, and for the first time the two giants stared at each other in the silent tension of real battle. The lion struck first, slamming into Heracles' chest like a battering ram. He didn't retreat. He drove forward, absorbing part of the blow, but the force still threw him back several steps. The earth cracked under his heels. The second attack came from the side. Heracles ducked low, hands digging into the dirt, reading the beast's movement. This was no longer a contest of strength. It was instinct against instinct. The lion leapt a third time. This time Heracles met it. He deflected with his left arm, searched under the thick hide with his right. But the creature moved too fast. His fingers closed on nothing but air. The battle didn't pause for a heartbeat. The lion retreated, claws shredding the ground as it coiled like a tightened bow. Heracles lowered his stance, anchored his feet. Both launched forward at the same instant. The impact echoed like thunder in a cavern. Heracles' arm went numb. The lion's jaw snapped sideways, but neither yielded. As the lion prepared another lunge, Heracles shifted. Not right, not left, not forward, not back, but unpredictably, like a hunter deceiving its prey. The lion lost its footing for a split second. And in that moment, Heracles saw his first true opening. Not a strike, but a move planned like a chess piece. Now he wasn't just strong, he was strategic. When the lion stumbled, Heracles knew his moment had come. His breath sharpened, his body slipped into a long-lost rhythm. The lion charged again, but this time Heracles didn't evade. He used its speed, turned it into a weapon of his own. One step left, one step forward. The lion followed the opening he created. And Heracles drove all his power into the vulnerable point beneath its hide. The beast faltered. Stones scattered beneath its paws. Heracles didn't hesitate. As the lion tried to rise, he seized its neck, forced its body against a rocky ledge, and gathered every ounce of strength into a single precise action. The lion roared, the cave walls trembled. But Heracles' grip tightened, the world held its breath. Then slowly, the beast's weight sagged and surrendered. Heracles wasn't gasping. He wasn't shaking. He didn't step back. It felt as if a piece of himself had finally clicked into place. When he released the lion, its body dropped to the ground, and Heracles rose in silence. He had won, not with fury or brute force, but with timing, mastery, and unbreakable resolve. In that moment, he realized this wasn't a curse. This is what he was born for. When Heracles stepped out of the cave, the sunlight felt different, as if it recognized him. The lion's pelt on his shoulder was not a trophy of violence, but the mark of a man who had found clarity. Villagers froze when they saw him, eyes widened, breaths hitched. Moments ago they had quietly assumed he would die. Now he stood before them like a storm walking on two legs. A woman whispered, trembling, "How is this possible?" An old man clasped his hands, voice quivering. No one ever defeated that beast, but he did. Heracles didn't respond. He ignored their awe, their fear, their admiration. But inside, one simple truth rose. I'm here. I've arrived. For the first time, the victory belonged not to the crowd, but to him. He had used his strength not just to strike, but to wait, understand, and choose the perfect moment. The lion's pelt wasn't a burden. It was the beginning of who he truly was. And for the first time in years, Heracles did not walk like a dead man, but like someone whose power had finally awakened.